Okay, so welcome, Rob, to my studio. This is my first episode of the Theosophy Station podcast I'm making. I wanted to have you, my older brother, present for this. As I just mentioned, you were the first person I told about Theosophy. You don't remember when this happened, apparently.
I actually don't.
Okay, so I'll refresh your memory. We were in the Bay Area. We were attending the funeral of a dear friend.
I do remember
And
that.
shortly before arriving at the funeral, I told you in the car about this thing I was really excited about.
I do remember that. I do remember we had like we always do, a wide-ranging conversation about a lot of fascinating subjects.
And this
yes,
came up.
and now it's clicking. I do remember.
I figured you'd remember when I
Yes.
said that. So I had been on a journey to discover what my real spirituality was. If you look back, I was making a thing I was calling the Human Life Handbook,
I do.
which was different aspects of life. This was part of a mentorship program I was doing for our nephew. And I came to the chapter on spirituality, and I needed to decide what I thought. The idea of this handbook was this is life as best I understand it. And I wanted to share that with him as a mentor. And I came to the conclusion I didn't really understand how I felt about my spirituality and about any of those kinds of concepts. And I felt I owed it to him as his mentor to be able to give an answer. And I felt pretty pathetic as a 40-something to not be able to say, hey, where did they come from and what's our reason for being? And I just had not sorted that out in my life at all.
Sure.
Okay. So do you remember your reaction on that trip after looking into it a little bit?
I don't necessarily remember how I reacted, or at least how we discussed it. I don't recall that. Of course, I got into it from a historical perspective, trying to understand the foundation, the fundamentals of it. But the basic construct, the idea that like no one school of thought, no one culture has the warehouse of all the true stuff, that lots of people have pieces of it, was appealing, was interesting to me. That truth is where you find it. It's not all with one guy or with one group. I liked that idea. That was, I suspect, if I remember correctly, that's what appealed to you too initially, that sort of big picture, the basic premise.
Yeah. So we've talked through the years a lot about religion and politics and all of these things. And so when I found this, I was like, oh, okay, this is a way of thinking that doesn't require me to change how I already feel about a lot of things. And I felt it gave a big enough umbrella for people who are questioning and doubting and still exploring, and didn't want to take on some kind of dogmatic followership in a religion or something, right? And I told you on the trip, I said, Rob, I think I'm a theosophist, and I think you are too.
Yeah.
Just knowing your opinions and your
Right.
perspectives on these things. Because I mean, we were never without some spirituality. We were both raised in a church and all of that. That's always
Correct.
been a part of our lives.
Yes.
Even if as adults we've never been attending, I don't think you either,
No.
any services or anything. Been in lots of churches, but mostly for architectural interest
Very
and
true.
historical concern.
Yep.
And so I thought that. And so while we were there, and we were at the airport on our way to go home, and you're on your phone, and you said, root races, uh-oh.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whenever a person kind of discovers something big, there's this whole, it sounds like perhaps John has been born again. And, yeah, of course, if you care about someone, you want to go, is this healthy? And one of the biggest issues when you start to do this on Wikipedia or on is like, whatever the most controversial thing is going to bubble right up to the surface, or whatever it is. And yeah. I think that first cursory sort of look, I was like, this is concerning, and
So this is another reason why I wanted you to be here for this, and
right.
this is why I think you're helpful for me
Mm-hmm.
as I go forward in this, is because you're not just going to buy in, right? You're gonna call these things out, and what it made me do then is to answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a problem?
Right.
Is this some kind of Third Reich stuff? And
Sure.
like there was a lot of weird stuff that happened with esotericism in the early part of the 20th century. This is an old thing,
Right.
and I certainly have never had any intention of following that sort of path.
Sure.
And that would all be a disqualifier for me if it was some kind of thing where there was a racial supremacy or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Having done the research, it's not about that. That's
Yep.
not what they mean by the root races. It's
Right.
not a physical race thing.
Sure. Sure.
We're all of the same root race here on Earth currently.
Yep.
All the colors are all fifth root race in their schema. But that reaction to my idealistic reception of this way of thinking has always been in me, in that, like, okay, but I'm still going to be skeptical. I'm going to still make sure I'm not adhering to something that isn't going to be ideologically in line with me.
Right.
So anyway, so that was kind of where I started with this. That interaction pushed me to do more research. I took they have an online school of Theosophy. It's a great program. I went through. I did all the classes they had available at the time. They've added many more since then, but at the time, and largely it was to be able to say, hey, I'm really interested in this. I want to do this, and it's not something that that violates the understanding we as brothers have come to where it's like, no, we can rationally explain our behaviors and our beliefs, right? We've challenged each other on politics, on sports, and on anything else.
Absolutely.
And I've always felt compelled to be able to back up my opinions and my perspectives and my allegiances.
Yeah.
And so in that, right, you've made me stronger in my theosophy, because I feel like I can back it up now.
There's also value, I think, in when you get challenged by someone that you respect and you care about, to take a look, go back to yourself and say, hey, am I wrong? And that, I think that's the part of where you do a bunch of follow-up research to say, is this right? I may have a blind spot here, and perhaps someone has pointed out that blind spot. Let me go back and do a deep dive. And if I'm wrong, I mean, there's a strength in admitting that I made a mistake, or I didn't have all the information when I came to this conclusion. My conclusion needs to change. I think that's what happened there, where you said, is this right? Am I wrong? Did I miss something? And then you did the deep research and discovered that, no, you don't really have a problem, that the issue is the way information is dispensed on the internet is the issue. But you took that time to double check it. You didn't just dismiss it out of hand. And I think that comes from having a respectful back and forth relationship, is to be able to say, no, he's not just trying to knock my knees out from under me. He's actually concerned.
Yeah, well, and it was fair in the rules of our relationship to do that. Right, because it's the kind of understanding. And that's how this isn't some cult or anything like that, is that I can take that kind of challenge and not turn my back on my family, right? And I can say, hey, can I support my belief?
Yep.
And so I can. And so now, here we are. This was 2019?
About that, yeah.
Right? So 5-6 years ago.
It was, yeah.
And it's been, I've done a lot since then in Theosophy and in all the different groups and study. So now, though, I still think that initial interaction of hey, let's explore this and challenge it, and you're not a member of the Theosophical Society.
I am not.
Have you ever been to our lodge or a lodge?
Never.
When was the first time you heard of Theosophy? Was it from me on that trip?
From you on that trip.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's just astounding to me.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been around since 1875. There's been a lodge in Portland since 1911.
Hmm.
You and I are both middle-aged dudes who did not hear about this whatsoever until middle age.
And
Like,
more than that, like I had that search that you had when you were working on our nephews, like I did that in my 20s, like in my late 20s. We had a sister who had an accident, and it just put me on this profound sort of path. It made me really look into those big questions. What happens when you die? How did we come from? What is the nature of the being of the universe? It wasn't like I was just bopping around. I was actively searching, but I had never heard of Theosophy. I mean, the internet wasn't around, but I had not heard of Theosophy. I didn't know it existed at a time when I was actually looking for something like that.
it's just bizarre. I mean, right? You gave me a book, The History of God, at one time.
Yeah.
Nothing in there about that.
Religion Explained,
Yeah.
books like that.
And it seems to me at this point, the fact that this has been around for so long, and it was prominent at one time. I mean, it almost seems like a concerted effort to not disseminate this as an alternative way of thinking about things.
And this is maybe my ignorance showing it. Is it because it isn't really classified as a religion?
It's not a religion, and
I
people
mean,
will bristle if you say that.
And I wonder if that's the thing, is that because as a society, as a culture, we put things into these neat little boxes, and it doesn't fit in the religion box, and it doesn't fit in the philosophy box, and it doesn't. So because it's between boxes, there's not a book that includes it in a compendium because it's something different from everything else.
And I think the people who want to say, "Oh, there's some kind of cult or something," because that's the box they have.
Well, because
Because if it's not the religion box, and it's not the philosophy box, and it's not any other,
Right.
that's our miscellaneous box.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't fit the other one, so it has to be this.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't fit any of the other definitions of a cult, it's like, but it doesn't fit in the right ones. So where do we?
But I don't know what else to call it, right?
Yeah,
Is it a social club? And that's the thing. Initially, it was like, is the Theosophical Society like the National Geographic Society? Like,
Right.
You're really interested in Africa and I'm really interested in South America, and we come together to share a love of maps and cartography. Is that how I should think of it? And I think for some people it is sort of like that. And for some people, who are really into the doctrine, it is a little bit more religion and
Sure. Well, because it kind of tells you how to live your life, or not necessarily tell you how to live your life. That's probably inelegant. It gives you clues into how you should see the world, and but it seems I'm ignorant. You've done a lot more of this than I have.
Oh, so far so good. The theosophical worldview is a thing.
Yes, and that theosophical worldview, the way I understand it as an outsider, is whatever when you find knowledge and it like edifies you, it's probably good, and you don't have to like discount it because it didn't come from like a particular revered or honored person. You know what I mean? It's most religions are like to the exclusion of all the other religions, and it doesn't seem like Theosophy has that rule, which is kind of a religion thing, right? It's like we believe this to the exclusion of everybody else, and Theosophy is like we believe including everybody else. That's the belief, is that everyone has something.
Yeah, well, and I mean, this is in the tradition. It's that the truth that they all share is Theosophy.
Right. Big.
Right. It's like oh yeah, you can't eat pork, you can't do it. Like okay, that's a dogmatic beliefs that you can have.
Right.
But that's not what makes the religion transcendent, right? Those are restrictions. Those are these things. The thing that makes religion important to people's lives, right, is this transcendent spirituality. And again, that's the distilled nature of Theosophy, where it's like, okay, believe in whatever guy you want, believe in whatever custom you want. Let's look at that transcendent spirituality that's present in all these different faiths that are scattered around the world.
Sure.
And that's really cool to me, but this lack of categorization, I think you're really pointing to it, and the dictate against proselytization.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Which if they say, oh, you can't advertise, it's going to be hard hard to be successful in any endeavor, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's it. That's it. Yeah, see, as I was thinking about it while you were talking, we had grandparents who were.
Want to make sure I was recording it.
It reminds me that we grew up with grandparents who were what they called golden rulers. They were like, the one rule is, treat other people the way you want to be treated. And it seems to me, and I could be wrong, that theosophy is just like as a fundamental thing. Like, treat everybody what's wanting to be treated, but let's flesh it out a little bit. Let's flesh that out. Let's actually like give you a few more tips about how things might go, because that's a pretty basic idea.
Well, the expansion on that, I mean these are big concepts, right?
Sure.
But the expansion on that is like, treat everybody like you want to be treated because they're you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep,
They're this sense of unity and oneness trickles down to, don't be an asshole because that asshole is also you.
Right.
You are sharing this experience as a unified humanity.
Yeah.
I've often talked about how for a long time, right, you read these things saying, don't be selfish and
Sure.
whatever and all this, and it really came to me that it's like, oh no, that's not the problem. What the problem is our limited sense of self.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm just this person, and
Right.
that's me, and I'm selfish for me. But having a family and having a son has really taught me that, like, I'd take a bullet for my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a part of me.
Oh yeah.
In such that, like, I would sacrifice this part of me and
Right.
for that, and my wife and my
Yep.
family, and so having we come from a big family, right? So I think we've had a kind of a larger sense of self in our sense of belonging to this group.
Yes.
And I think as we mature, right, you start out as that egotistical little shit, and I've got one. And as you mature, that sense of self is what grows.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can be selfish, and you're selfish for your family, and that, like, you want to pay health insurance for your adult children.
Right.
Because that's self for you still.
True.
Right. They're not outside of you and your purview, right?
That's right.
You still have them under your umbrella.
That's true.
And I think that sense of alienation that people have is a lack of sense of expansive self.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what Theosophy is really teaching. And so it's like, oh, you be selfish, but don't think you're just this little tiny thing. Like,
Right.
think you're the whole world, and then treat the whole world good.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I think that's really powerful. So you talked about your journey and the near-death experience our sister went through as a catalyst for launching into that. So doing this, like, so 5 years at least, I've been doing this Theosophy thing. I have not been doing a podcast. I have not been too outward with it.
Sure.
And my catalyst for now feeling the need to do this and to engage in this way, I wish it was more, I don't know, I wish the catalyst was more meaningful, like a life and death thing, and like seeing how close we are all in our mortality to drive it. But unfortunately, that's not my primary motivation.
I would just say, I think that's better. I don't think it should take a life or death situation for you to actually, question your path. In retrospect, I kind of think one should always be thinking and questioning their path. So it shouldn't take that to make me look inward and say, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Oh, God. All right. So you think the do not enter sign should be enough? There shouldn't have to be a barricade across the road telling you to turn around.
That's right.
Okay.
Exactly right. Yeah. So feel no shame.
Okay.
Like, you're doing it right.
Well, for this, and we talked about this recently, in the fractured state of our world that we live in, that everything that's going on, many people get by through distractions right? And they don't ever have to face this kind of stuff and
Yes.
look within because you're busy doing other stuff. You've
Yeah.
got other things that are interesting and fun and whatever. My fun and interesting thing through life has been, my beloved Portland Trailblazers and basketball.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned last time, they ruined it. Like it's for me, and maybe I'm reacting strongly to this. I think they ruined basketball. I think it's broken, it's corrupt, and it's no longer the distraction for me. It's not something that can bring me joy when our coach is in cahoots with the Gambino crime family to throw games and that sort of thing. And when allegedly, thank you, thank you. But it's the lack of a distraction, a viable distraction, which I can convince myself that it doesn't, that it's still meaningful. I don't think I'm there. I feel like I've had the moment I had in 4th grade when I had to decide whether or not I wanted to keep watching wrestling.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yep. If you remember, I was a big WWF at the time fan.
Yes, I remember.
And so in 5th grade, I signed up for wrestling at the junior high, and I started doing wrestling. And I got there, and I was like, where's the turnbuckles?
Right. Where's the belt?
What character do I get to be?
Yeah.
And I honestly thought I was gonna be, Bret the Hitman Hart or something out there as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And yet I'm down on the mat doing some Roman Greco stuff. And I came home from wrestling, and I watched Portland wrestling, and I watched the WWF, and I was like, wait, what now?
Yeah.
You're 4 years older than me, right? You
Sure.
were in high school at the time, or you're just getting into high school. You were probably well aware.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point in high school, I think it wasn't too long after that when they had to actually come out and say, no, this is all entertainment. This is all completely entertainment. And it does seem like the NBA is at some point going to have to say, well, it's a little bit scripted now.
They do say it's an entertainment product, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
they're not shy about that, right? Adam Silver, the commissioner of the league, was head of NBA entertainment. It was his previous role.
Yeah, no, it's and that is frustrating because I think that the reason that people get into athleticism and athletic events and things like that, they root for their pro teams, is that, a chip in a chair, anybody can win it. And, through good coaching and good players who develop, you can win. But that's not really true if your coach is on the take and the referees are on the take and some of the players are on the take.
And the league wants the big markets to be successful.
Correct. So when you have that combination of that, this isn't a fair and equitable sporting event anymore. And adding on top of that, the sports gambling, this behemoth that actually sponsors games, sponsors teams, puts their names on arenas. How can it be a fair event anymore? It can't, because there's so many people and things tugging at the integrity of the game. Of course that integrity is just going to snap. It's unfortunate because we want our kids to learn how, fair play, good sports, all of those things. But at the professional level, it doesn't seem to exist anymore.
And it doesn't seem to be a problem for a lot of people.
Right. Well, because, it's still the Majesty. They still have, the guy balancing on the chairs at the halftime show, and, you can still get your garlic fries in the stands. It's like wrestling. It's like the match might not be in doubt, and sometimes the Washington Generals will beat the Globetrotters, but let's not kid ourselves. The vast majority of the time, the Globetrotters are going to win because that's the way it's been designed from the jump. So, we have the Washington Generals here in Portland. They're not designed to win most of the time, because it doesn't matter what the team does or the GM does. The apparatus, the league itself, has predetermined that Luka's going to the Lakers. You know what I mean? And so how do you...
And the free throw line more than anybody else in the league.
Or, Shea doesn't have to get touched to get fouled, So that stuff, I can see where if you're a true believer, if you're that fourth grader who's watching and you're a true believer and you think this is real, when you have that realization that, oh, it's not real. Like, there's a script and it's being written by gambling houses, or it's being written by Terry Rozier allegedly, or Chauncey Billups, or whoever it is. Suddenly, you lose some faith. You lose some, it takes the joy away.
So you're I can't say you're a bigger sports fan than me. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. That's the way we can measure it. You attend a lot more sports than I do.
Yeah.
Of different sports and different teams. I've been frustrated with you as a fan my whole life. Are you a Trailblazers fan? Would you consider yourself a fan of any teams in particular?
I have always said that as a local Portlander, of course, I'm going to root for the Trailblazers. That said, like I've always said, like when another player on another team makes a really great play, whether it's against the Blazers or against somebody else, I say that was amazing. And I think that's the part that keeps me coming back, because like Shaden Sharp can still dunk like nobody else on the planet, and I'm glad to be there in person to see it. Now, is our team going to win? Probably not, because that's not what the overarching like narrative is supposed to be. The Globetrotters are supposed to win. But boy, when Shaden Sharp dunks, that's still athleticism. That's still when Jimmy the Superfly Snuka still jumps off the top turnbuckle. That's still athleticism, and it's still amazing to see in person.
And that's so. I watched a Randy Macho Man Savage interview recently, and they said, some fan, right? This back in the '80s, some fan says, hey, how much of wrestling is fake? And he said, none of it.
Right.
He said, we are out there working out every day. We have, I am really getting thrown on the ground. I am really throwing people over that turnbuckle. That guy is really getting hit with a chair. And even though the result may be scripted,
right,
that's all really happening. Those players are really making those shots when they make those shots in basketball. Like they really do all of that stuff.
Right.
And the difference in our fandoms, in which right, like all these, you'll notice like there's no people in these uniforms, right?
Yeah.
I root for the laundry.
Yep.
I am a Trailblazers fan.
Right.
Whereas you've been able to appreciate the sport rather than the team. I think that's what kind of you're describing.
Correct. Yes.
And so just like the people who didn't abandon the WWF in the 80s when they found out it was fake, because they could appreciate the opera and the spectacle being put on, despite the lack of integrity in the result.
Yep.
Do you feel with the recent events with the Trailblazers and with the NBA in general, do you feel the same kind of corrosive effect on your fandom as I've been describing?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's because when you say that, like the guy shooting a 3-pointer really shot that 3-pointer, I think the question comes in: did he when he misses, was that on purpose or on accident? Because if he can shoot that 3-pointer like that, sometimes he doesn't hit it. But what if it's Terry Rozier and he needs to get below 36%?
He wants to hit the under
because the Casa Nostra has money on the game, and he's like, I had a couple of great shots early. I got to crank some out late that or miss. Otherwise, we don't hit the under, and I make my gambling people very upset. That stuff corrodes it, and of course, it's great to see when you have a very athletic person do an amazing dunk, and then the ref kind of blows it off and says, no, it was a foul on the floor. And suddenly those points don't even count. Yeah, it does. It takes the joy of it away, because you just go, but the other guy just did the same thing. And not only did it count, he got an extra shot. Those things, it's just like, well, why don't we just watch the slam dunk competition? Because, at least it's arbitrary too. Who cares about the scores? Just like, how high can you jump? Why don't we watch the halftime show where they have the guy jump on the trampoline and, go over the backboard and put it between his legs? Because like, if that's what that's the part where I say, Is the frustration worth the entertainment, or is the frustration part of the entertainment? I don't know.
Well, it's you know, I come to this term. I've mentioned it before, and this is in my own feeling. I feel like I'm turning away. Right. I mean, this is my whole life.
Sure.
Right. We're from here. I followed this team since Jerome Kersey came to my elementary school when I was 9 years old, and it made a big impact on me.
Yep.
It was the Read to Achieve event. I'm a great reader thanks to Jerome Kersey. And so in turning away from that, though, I worry about this expression. I don't want to yuck people's yum.
Right. Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to say people shouldn't follow wrestling. We had a cousin who was a professional wrestler, gave his life essentially to the sport.
Well,
I don't want to say that that's not real.
And speaking to Randy Savage's comment, he's absolutely right. Like the damage to the body that they do when they're entertaining the masses is real, and he felt that. Our cousin felt that for sure. He's like, to say that ain't real, tell my back that. Tell my
oxycodone addiction that.
That's right. Yeah, tell my like dislocated shoulder that it ain't real. And he's not wrong about that.
So again, I don't want to necessarily put down anybody who finds satisfaction in wrestling or in basketball, and they can look away. And I don't want to say, oh well, I'm better than you because I believe in honesty and truth in the American way. It's just I just can't suspend disbelief anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. I can't watch a lot of Marvel movies and stuff because CGI just doesn't do it for me.
Sure.
It's not that I think it's bad. It's just not for me.
But if you take your favorite movie and you watch it the second time or the third time, and whatever the movie is, like you still know how it's going to end, and you watch it again because the product is entertaining. And ultimately, if it's entertainment, if it entertains you, keep going, and if it doesn't, don't. And there's no judgment, whether you're watching a Marvel movie or you're watching an art piece, in a foreign language. If it entertains you, great. As long as you're not hurting anybody, have fun.
So. I want to yuck people's yum.
Here we go.
I think this I say, don't yuck my yum is the millennials motto.
Sure.
Right? Like we didn't grow up like this. If I was into something nerdy or dorky, I was going to feel it at school.
You were going to get called out.
I was going to call Tim Hartsook. Was going to let me know. I showed up in 1983 with a Star Wars T-shirt with Princess Leia on it.
Yeah,
because it was cool and black, and it was and I got mocked pretty hard for that Princess Leia T-shirt.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would have happened 10 years later or 15 years later. I think the next generation was raised in such a way where if you're just a dick about things that people like, you're the dick.
Yeah.
Right? They're not. It's not on them.
I hope that's right. It's a little difficult. I always, as a parent, I remember being a kid and our parents would say, "Hey, you should hang out with that guy." When I was a freshman, because he's a good kid, he goes to church with us, and I was like, "Well, he's a drug dealer," but they don't know that because they're not in it. They're not in the soup. They're above the soup, looking into the soup, and they just see what's on the top. They don't know what's going on down in the soup.
Yeah.
And so I think it's easy now that we're above the soup. We don't know what's going on inside of it. I think, yes, our overhead view is kids don't mock each other as much. I suspect it happens maybe in different ways, but just as much. So just like it's the same thing with the NBA when we talk about, that gambling has ruined, the NBA, and that's true. But let's talk about the 2001 Lakers, and so it's like this isn't a recent thing where there was a thumb on the scale. It's just now there's both thumbs and your hand on the scale. I think, but the thumb has always been there. We just didn't see it before. And kids are always cruel, but now that we're adults, we don't see it quite as obviously because we're adults now, and kids are on their best behavior around us, hopefully. And so we don't actually see the cruelty, but I'm sure if you talk to a kid, they might say, "Oh, that guy's a jerk. He's really mean to other people," or whatever. Nobody ever thought that it was cool that a kid made fun of your shirt, right? Maybe they thought it was funny in the moment. The joke was funny, but bullying is bad, and most kids got that even then.
Yeah.
You know.
But so when I say I do want to be a bully,
Oh, here we go.
well, it's true. But that's the thing. Like this is how you end up with bronies. This is how you end up with people doing things that may not be in their own best interest. This is how you have people who are in their 30s saying they're adulting, because like when they're doing responsible tasks, that's the stray from the norm, right? It's facilitated a culture in which like people can cultivate their own communities, right? You can go online and you can find plenty of people for any of your interests who are gonna share and reaffirm you and things like that. Yeah. And I think we end up, because of that and because of this attitude of, hey, if you disparage somebody's interest, that you're the bad guy, you're gonna end up with a bunch of interests that are like maybe not healthy. Right? Like I think the community aspect of judgment and banishment and all of that served a purpose to kind of keep the herd together.
Yeah.
And I think without that, all the herd is strayed everywhere.
So then, how do you feel about the talk about this epidemic of loneliness? Because I mean, this is a thing they talk about with this generation.
Oh,
an
yeah.
epidemic of loneliness, even though there's. And do you feel like big picture, like they're not actually acknowledging the togetherness that a lot of people are having? It's just more online now than it was in person. And here's the thing: I think probably there was always bronies, but there was like something like a brony out there that person had weird eclectic interests but didn't have an outlet for it. And because he was the only brony or whatever it was in Tulsa, like he just had to like keep it in his head or keep it in his basement or whatever. And now those people can get together. Is that a bad thing that people who have weird interests, as long as they're not hurting anybody else, that they're now able to share those interests,
even if it's hurting themselves?
But I guess you would have.
I just want, if it's completely benign, it's one thing, right? If it's hurting someone else, it's something. But there's a middle ground which hurts them.
I hear you, and if you're saying, well, it like if they have bronies is the greatest example, but if they have if a person has an interest that is like stunts them, like makes it so it's, I don't know, like if they're wearing something weird in like something like that, a red hat, I don't know what it is, something in public that like immediately like puts off so many people in society that is that what you're talking about? Social hurting, not physical hurting, right? Or in other words, it's like they think it's.
I'm mostly talking about the fractionation of society through this.
Okay.
Right, like back in the day, right? He's more likely to have friends who go bowling.
Yes.
Right, because those are the people who are available in his town, right? Like you're gonna have an interest that's gonna be within your community in order to find community. Whereas now that you can find community anywhere in the world, the local area has become more fractured, including families, including things like that, because their community is now far flung, and I think that's making us more fractured and less unified. It's why things like Theosophy lodges and Elks lodges and all these things are going away and shriveling up, right? Is because people are in their communities aren't coming together and congealing in this way, because they have these alternatives, and some of which I don't think are
healthy,
helping them to evolve and to grow and to be what they could be, right? Because they will foster you staying in that state and in that, and if you move away from that groupthink of the community, right, you can be ostracized.
Maybe. I guess one makes to make the same argument about say religion, because if you move away from that group, think you
Oh,
can be
yeah.
ostracized. Move away from being a brony, you can be like.
I put right in there. Bronies,
Yeah.
Catholics, all the same.
That's right. So I guess that's the challenge is like it's a subjective I think is like what when it comes to your psyche, when it comes to yourself, what is healthy? Like you and I may have very different definitions, and everybody else has like someone who likes a particular thing might say this yum is my yum.
Mm-hmm.
It yucks yours, it yucks mine, it yucks most of society's. But if that isn't hurting anybody, I mean, who am I to say that's bad? Who am I to say? Like, maybe that's a 21st century sort of like don't judge.
Well, what would hurt somebody be though, right? If I was a right winger,
Yeah.
like following Nick Fuentes or one of
Sure.
these guys online,
Yeah.
I'm not actually going out and hurting anybody, but
Sure.
I'm fomenting, and I'm like, is that a problem?
Sure.
I mean,
well, in and of itself, you can whatever entertains you. It's like it's just like also like say I really like to play an archery game, and that's fine. I mean, I love it. I'm obsessed with that. It's if I'm starting to shoot someone else, that's a problem, right? I mean, it's what you do, and it's a kind of a libertarian sort of thought where it's just like don't hurt anybody else and just do whatever you want. I think that's what freedom looks like.
so what you're saying is there's no problem. It's not disordered if it's not pathological. Right, as long as it doesn't hurt, keep me from leading a healthy life. Well, and I would extend that to others.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's no pathology, which means there's now no disorder. You can be as weird as you want, as long as it's not pathological.
I think that's where our society has landed for the most part is that we're not always going to make the decision that is in our own best interest. We're not always going to make the decision that is ordered and smart. Every one of us makes dumb decisions every day that we probably shouldn't have. I might have French fries. I really should have had a salad, but that's freedom. I get to do that, and it probably won't kill me. It certainly won't improve my life, but it won't kill me either. And I get to make that choice because it's what I want. And that's hard because when you start to prescript or start to think about like, well, maybe we should take away things that they want. I mean, what are we doing?
You do that for your kids, right? I mean,
for sure. No, absolutely true. No, and when it comes to your kids, I mean, even then, as you know, how much control do you have over that? And it gets more and more.
I got a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, you just. I mean,
so it's escalating.
They're gonna like. I had high hopes for my kids. I didn't think that my daughter would get into human resources. Not there's anything wrong with that.
There's things wrong with that.
That's maybe a little bit. Anyway, and I'm proud of her because she chose her path, and her path wasn't the path I picked for her, but she picked it. I'm proud of her because she has figured out her path. And sometimes, whatever. Without going on a tangent, it's like sometimes the path picks you, and sometimes like you stumble along and a path appears. So, and I think that's all right too.
I can see that. A lot of people. So back to the nobody ever heard of Theosophy thing,
right?
A lot of the people I've talked to say, well, I've complained. I'd be like, I'm walking to Powell's bookstore to buy books on metaphysics, going past the lodge because I don't know the lodge is there.
Yeah.
With a large esoteric library.
Right.
And I complained about it. And in fact, there was a Willamette Week article back in the 80s in which they interviewed the president of the lodge at the time. And they said, hey, don't accuse us of proselytizing. We don't tell anybody about the lodge.
Yeah.
You find us. We don't find you.
It is that thing where it's like most thoughts, most clubs, most whatever you want to call it, organizations, they put up billboards. And they say, come this way. This might be what you want. This might be what you want. And Theosophy does seem like it's the path you discover in the woods that you didn't even know was there. And you don't know where it came from, but you see it, and it's your choice. You can follow it, or you can just keep walking through the woods. But it's your choice. And no one is going to tell you, that path is for you or not. You decide, gosh, I like the look of that path. I'm going to follow it away.
But dude, if it's the animal style fries and it's not on the menu,
no, I get
right?
you.
Like,
yeah.
Like I'm not given a choice if you don't put it on the menu.
And if you had not brought up Theosophy in like 2019 or 2020, I never would have heard of it. I never would have.
And so, is it that? So this is what the old heads tell me.
Yeah.
You found it when the time was right for you, John. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I've really struggled with that, like, because I think having a background,
Yep.
like having this feeling of wholeness about my understanding of things, I think it would have been useful in my 20s and 30s too.
Yeah.
And this idea, like, well, you just weren't mature enough for it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know that that's how it works.
Well,
Right? Because we were talking about Hinduism. We were talking about, like, this stuff on your back porch.
Yeah.
I just didn't know about Theosophy.
No, and like I said in my 20s, I was looking for the search of the meaning of life, and Theosophy has a perspective there. But yeah, it was. I guess maybe the old heads are saying, yeah, you searched, but you didn't search hard enough because you weren't ready. And when you searched hard enough, it appeared. But I didn't search; you just handed it to me. I mean, is that how it's supposed to work? How fate just sort of like throws it at you?
But it's been 5 years and you haven't.
That's also true.
Explored it also. Maybe you weren't ready when I told you in 2019.
That's probably true. But then why did I hear about it? See, I mean,
well, but that's the thing. So this idea of, like, you know, our paths are all different.
Yep.
And the things that we need will come to us when we need them, right? When the student is right, the teacher will appear, you know?
Sure.
This is all esoteric principles and stuff like that. At the same time, there's a part of me that says, if there'd been a freaking billboard, I would have showed up at the lodge 10 years earlier.
Sure. Yeah.
And I still haven't really come to a thing. So in this, right, we put this on YouTube and people see this and they're like, oh, what are these guys talking about Theosophy? Like, I think them hearing that wouldn't have happened if we don't post it.
So you're saying you're not really building a billboard, but you might be building one of those little signs on the side of the road that might catch the attention of a person who's looking for something. And
if that sign doesn't exist, I don't think they're going to intuit that it's there.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's an unknown.
You know, and so that's, again, part of the reason why I want to, you know, go forward with this is, like, I think I'm the only one who thinks billboards make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, I'm just trying to go forward with.
Just to make the argument.
I'm not trying to recruit. I'm just trying to bring awareness.
Just one might argue that because you did the thing where you were walking through the woods and you found the path.
Mm-hmm.
Some might argue that path was more interesting and more mysterious and more edifying and more adventurous because no one pointed it out to you. And if there had been a big billboard that said, there's a path over here that you might want to take, it feels a little less personal, sort of, a little less sort of, I found this, and more like it was pointed out to me. Or, you know, and every billboard has maybe that's the problem, is every billboard seems to have something they want to sell you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Theosophy wants to sell you anything. And you know, that's the tricky thing.
That's a good point, right? Other people have billboards.
Yeah. They want to say something.
I ain't there.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
like,
Right.
when we're down the street for the LDS church, it's not convincing me to spend my Sundays there.
Right. I don't buy mattresses every week.
True.
There's a lot of mattress billboards.
Okay, fair point. Fair point. Billboards may not be as effective.
Well, and maybe it's the wrong metaphor. Maybe that's what it is, because just the idea of, but I don't think. I think there's a difference between advertising and hiding, and in the middle, it's just like awareness. And I think that I don't think you want to put up a billboard. but I don't think you want to hide.
Mm-hmm.
What you want is there to be some awareness. Like you've said this in the past. It's just like the message you want to be is we exist.
That's what Blavatsky says, right? That's the whole point, is to make it known that a thing such as theosophy exists.
If this yums your yum, come on over. If it doesn't, cool.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, in the Key to Theosophy, it's a great passage. I wish I had it memorized, but it's something like, theosophy is for the people that nothing else could satisfy.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So if following your team is good enough for your this trip on the mortal coil, good for you.
Yep.
Easy solution. If just going to a church and listening to your pastor works for you, good for you. I want people to all have something. To think I did not have a thing.
And you're saying, and you can't know you like Thai food if you don't know Thai food exists.
Exactly. And
so you're like, I just want to make sure Thai food exists.
Well, considering though that one of the largest religion factions of believer in America is spiritual, not religious.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, well, do all those people know about theosophy?
Right.
Because it sure sounds like spiritual, not religious.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, that's right. It sounds like that's the box that they've been throwing it in the cult box, but they should have been throwing it in the spiritual, not religious box. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
That's the box.
That's the box.
Sorting it into, yeah.
You know, but people would ask me. I remember, I don't know, somewhere around that same 2019-20 period, I came to the conclusion I'm not a Christian.
Right.
It was a big deal.
Sure. When you were born and raised one way, to say, oh, I'm not that way.
I think there's a ton of spiritual, not religious people who would consider themselves Christians because they don't know what else to consider themselves.
They're looking for the box.
Yeah. And they're not providing the box. Mm-hmm. And I think they believe in reincarnation. I mean, more Catholics believe in reincarnation than don't.
Yeah.
It's not part of their doctrine.
Right.
There's many of the theosophical beliefs. You look at the Pew Research studies, people already believe this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like me, I didn't have to change what I thought. I already believed in reincarnation before I joined the society. Mm-hmm. I believed in many of these principles. I didn't have to change. I found something that fit my existing belief system. Right. I think all these spiritual, non-religious people are in the exact same situation.
Right. But they're the people in the basement that might also be bronies, right? And so those people...
Well, they've had to find something else in lieu of.
That's right. And more importantly, it's just like maybe the spiritual, non-religious, it's a catch-all, where it's like some people may have a very specific sort of, I'm a golden ruler, or I believe in the spaghetti monster, or whatever. They have their things. No, that'd be a religion, though. They have
These guys are such dicks. I hate them so much. I'm sorry. I don't hate them. That's not theosophical.
I'm just like, that actually is the plus side of what we were talking about with like all these people individually. Because like, as you say, like theosophy, and you've talked to me about like theosophy groups, like just spontaneously forming in New Mexico, like out of
Tennessee recently.
That stuff happens because of, and they may not have like a huge community there, but like it happens because they know about it, because they're the brony in their town. They're the ones that are different, because like that town in Tennessee, probably very, very Christian. Very, very Christian.
No, that was the deal. So I met this group at the World Congress this summer, and it was a married couple. They're doctors, and they had been going. They found theosophy during the pandemic, like I did, and they had been going online to the Theosophical Society in America's courses they offer on Zoom, and people were introducing themselves, and they found a bunch of other people from Tennessee. And they said, and they were like, yeah, so we formed a study center in Tennessee. And I said, I've never been to Tennessee, but isn't that a Bible Belt? Isn't that like a pretty religious kind of part of the country? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so it's like, are you out as a theosophist? Yeah. Like, oh, no way. Like, we never would have found each other if not for that Zoom call in which people actually showed their cards. They actually...
So... going back to our earlier part, they're the bronies, right? They're the bronies, and the society around them would say they're hurting themselves by not having Jesus in their lives. They're the bronies. and outside culture would say they're hurting themselves.
The Christians are yucking their theosophical
That's
yum.
right.
And
so that's why, like, I think it's okay, because they found something that edifies them, that helps them, that is good for them, that other people might not think that is the case. And feel what you want, but they should have the right, and they should have the opportunity to seek out and find theosophy, just like bronies should be able to find My Little Pony. Sorry.
Score one for the bronies. All right, fair. So for me, My Little Pony's been taken out to pasture and put down for the final time.
Are they?
You know, I'm not saying I'm going to give up the team altogether. I'm not going to take down my magnificent free wall art I got at games.
Right.
But we recently gave up our season tickets.
That's true.
You have dialed back your attendance.
I have not gone to a single home game this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many cities have you gone to watch basketball this year, though?
A couple, and that's the thing. Going back to your yes, a number of them, but I don't. The Blazers don't have to be playing. I just want to see a good game, and because I still want to see the guy who can sky out and dunk or do whatever.
So you can still find joy in the athleticism.
That's right.
While giving up your stake in the result.
Right. That's right. And a close game or a competitive game is entertaining to me, even if the result of that game might not be in doubt. Like wrestling. Wow, I can watch I guess when if I watch wrestling, I could watch really amazing athletes who are juiced out of their heads do incredible feats with their bodies. Even though the results are, we know who's going to win or it's predetermined, it's still an amazing feat of athleticism, you know? When you're watching football, that receiver still has to make that one-handed catch. It's amazing to do that. If you've ever thrown or caught a football, that's an amazing thing to see. And it's nice to see in person, you know? Just like an opera singer hitting that high note in an aria. Amazing for people who are entertained by that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And they can have it. And, I don't hold it against the wrestling promoters. They're offering a product that finds an audience that it appreciates it and wants to spend their time and money on it.
Yep.
It's a capitalistic society, and this is a capitalistic endeavor that seems to be successful.
One might argue that they have actually more ethics than, say, an athletic event that actually
purports to be legit.
That's right. No, at least they're out there saying we're fake.
Are you suggesting you think Vince McMahon is more ethical than Adam Silver?
I want to be careful there. Maybe Vince McMahon isn't. Or Dana White. No, not him either. My personal opinion. It doesn't matter what I think about that sort of thing. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
It doesn't matter.
They're just business people.
I think Adam Silver is in the business of entertainment, and I think sometimes the best team wins regardless of the fix. That doesn't happen in wrestling. Every once in a while, like the players don't follow the script.
Tyrese Halliburton sinks some 3-pointers he's not supposed to make.
That's right. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes Dame Lillard has a 0.2 seconds left, hits that shot, knocks out the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they never recovered. They never got better again. That might not be right. No, I'm just saying. Sometimes that happens, and I don't know that was part of the script. I think that's the part where it's different. Every once in a while, the Washington Generals, if they're playing their heart out, they can win because that day they were better. No?
Too far. I'm with you on Dame. The Generals though. I don't.
Fair enough.
Huh. All right. Well, I think the fact that this has corrupted not only the future for me, but also the past.
Yeah.
Looking back at,
Yeah.
again, you pointed to the 2001 Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
In that was what I went back to. That game, as this was all unfolding, is what I went back to, and I watched it again on YouTube.
Yep.
And those fouls on Sabonis in the first half were a bunch of BS.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how they influence the game, the Tim Donaghy testimony, all that stuff. And I think it's because I have always been more invested in the outcome.
Sure. Right.
For the team. For
Yep.
my team, I'm taking this a lot harder than you are.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, it could be worse. We could be in Sacramento.
So, bring it back to theosophy.
Yeah.
So karma, right? We have personal karma.
Sure.
We also have collective karma.
Right.
And I learned that people who support teams have a team karma,
Mm-hmm.
and we take on that karma.
Sure.
It seems to me that our team and its results are pretty reflective of our city and our culture. You know, I think we've been beloved losers for a long time. And I think the character and the way that Portland is and Portland's team is, I think they fit together nicely. And I think that's this karma, this collective karma. Sacramento, I think, has their collective karma. The Lakers, like that team, kind of looks like that city.
You're going to have to explain Oklahoma City to me then, because they're like right now. I think they're 18-1. They're 19-1.
One loss to the Blazers.
Yeah, right. But they have beat us twice since.
Badly, and it was an ugly game that they won.
Yeah.
So how explain Oklahoma City in
Because
terms of collective karma?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's this ascendant community, more so that I'm sure it's lovely, but I don't think it's more ascendant as a community than other deserving.
So how did they come to be in Oklahoma City again? I'm trying to remember.
Right. I don't know.
So they stole the Sonics under false pretenses and moved them to Oklahoma.
Yep.
And then they ended up bringing Kevin Durant there, right? And they ended up going to the finals and had great success there. And now they're good as a result of taking things from the Clippers.
Yes.
Now, should the Clippers have been able to give those things to the Thunder? No, they had to violate federal law to do so.
Yeah.
Right? It was really bad idea for the team. If the team had followed the rules, the Clippers, they would be in way better shape
For sure.
than they are now.
Agreed.
Even without the federal indictments and that stuff.
Yep.
And so I would say a team that came to be in midst of corruption and is still engaged in corruption, they have 3 picks that might be in the lottery this year. I think their karma's right there. I think it's corrupt from top to bottom.
All right. And I think to say that the city itself is corrupt is probably a big sort of jump. You know what I mean?
Do I think Clay Bennett and the shareholders, the oil barons who are running that team are corrupt? I don't know that they have the collective good in mind.
But the fan base is great and fine, and they support that team and they love that team just like we do here in Portland. I guess but this idea of a collective karma and the Oklahoma City itself is this ascendant. I mean, real estate prices don't bear that out. You know, the movement of people, when you hear about people moving to or from, or these signs of a burgeoning or a successful community, I don't necessarily think Oklahoma City shows those things. I could be wrong. Whereas like a city like Miami does have that. A lot of people moving to Miami, but that team's not getting better.
Miami's doing pretty good this year.
They lost their premier player. They traded away their premier player.
Still pretty good this year.
Yeah, they're all right.
I mean, they got Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
Anyway, This is not a basketball podcast. Kind of. All right, so you think Oklahoma City breaks the collective that's the one you would have me overcome.
Well, they're the most extreme sort of example of like the city's doing one thing and the town is something else. You know what I mean? I can see where you're like, well, underdog, underdog, lovable underdog, sort of Portland or Sacramento
Since 1970,
right? I can see where you would say it with those, but like Oklahoma City, like as a population basis of those things, it's more like Portland than it is like LA. Yeah, its response, it's
but they've won.
its success is like, and you can say, well, it's the thumb on the scale. And the question is, why is that thumb on that scale? Why would Adam Silver say we want OKC? We want to win Middle America? Because the plan has always been give it to the coasts, give it to Boston, New York. Although New York is so recently they're doing fine. Like give it to the coasts, give it to the big cities. That's going to drive numbers. That's going to drive ad revenue. That's going to drive those things. You could argue.
So that would say, did argue that the league's not fixed.
What's that?
That would argue that the league's not fixed.
I think,
and the results not
what
fixed, right?
it argues is that it's a different, like their revenue stream has changed. It's not advertising anymore. It's gambling. That's what it is. It's like they get their money from something different. It's not ad revenue anymore. It's from other.
Because of the billions of dollar TV contract they signed 2 years ago,
right?
That money's locked down.
Yeah.
And that's where viewership in these big markets really mattered, was for ad revenue, which is tied to viewership.
Yep.
And now you're saying, so now that money's all locked down, we want the gambling money, and that's what comes with manipulating things, not necessarily to advantage large markets, but to advantage the spread or whatever.
And also, I mean, it has to be acknowledged that Sam Presti's a genius GM. That tricks other GMs into doing things that aren't in their best interest. It's called the Paul George principle. You trade away Paul George and your team will be successful. It happens everywhere.
Interesting. I've heard Bill Simmons, NBA writer Bill Simmons, doesn't write anymore, podcaster Bill Simmons, talks about the Ewing effect. And this is when Patrick Ewing got traded away from the Knicks. They were supposed to get worse and ended up getting way better.
Right.
And there's many examples of this Ewing effect. Yes, Paul George, Podcast P.
When you trade him away,
it's a pretty dang good Ewing effect.
You get a lot back for Paul George, and those pieces, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, is in OKC because the Clippers, traded him to OKC for Paul George, along with a treasure trove. Like that team is built on the things they got for Paul George.
See,
and then the Clippers now have a pretty stacked roster too because they traded away Paul George.
The Clippers stacked roster is RH.
Oh, agreed. Yes. No, I mean, because that's what because the GM in LA isn't Sam Presti. Like he traded for the 2018 All-Star team. That's great, but it's 2025. Like that's what he valued. We did it with Trader Bob, right?
Oh yeah, no, that's the Clippers. The Clippers, their Microsoft owner reminds me a lot of us. Their Microsoft owner 20 years ago.
That's right. Yeah.
It is, but that loser franchise, right? Like, do you not see the collective karma in that? I mean, they have been terrible, and their fan base is miserable.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean,
so part of it. So for me, I'm hoping. So all that aside, I don't want to get into NBA all the time, but part of me is hoping if I walk away from my identification with the team, maybe I can be less of a loser, less of a lovable loser if I'm not like identifying with this team of, I
don't know. I think, I mean, it would be like it would be like saying, I realize I'm not a Christian. Like, I realized in 2025 I'm not a Blazer fan. I mean, if that yums your yum, okay. But if you still find joy in it, or if it's still you can find faults or warts wherever you want to find them in whatever you want to find them. But ultimately, like, the Blazers still bring you joy, then you're still a Blazer fan. You can say whatever you want, and you can.
They don't only bring me joy though, and they never have,
No.
right? It's always been a mixed bag.
But that's how you know it's joy, because you can't know joy without knowing sorrow, right? You can't know. In other words, if it was San Antonio, right? They've been good. They were good for so long.
Annoying how good they were, how long they were good.
So long. And I think the fans just got complacent with, like, Greg Popovich is a genius and he always wins, and they got Tim Duncan. That was super brilliant, and they were great. They never knew sorrow until they hit their little speed bump, and then they got Wemby.
Yeah.
And you just go, okay, well, he's hurt some, but, like, I don't know that they always say that Portland has a really great fan base and that they're louder, and I think it's because we know so much sorrow when we see the joy, when we get the Dame Lillard big shot, or, you know, whoever, Brandon Roy, like, we feel that joy more because we felt sorrow so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
No. I mean the Lakers. I mean, if they win a championship, like,
asterisk,
big deal. We win a championship. Holy crap! This town would go insane.
Yeah. Well, if they win a championship, it's like, oh, put the thing with the other ones. You know what I mean? If we win at one, it's like, yeah, dust off the cobwebs so we can find a place to put the next one, because, boy, it was 1977 when we got this one. So I wouldn't stop being a Blazer fan if I was a lifelong Blazer fan. But if it's too much sorrow, if it brings you too much pain, I can understand why.
Or if there's no chance.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Right, and that's the thing. So you and I went to many playoff games. You gifted me a ticket to a playoff game every year for 7 years, 8 years. I don't know how long it was. And going to that first round playoff game, it was the highlight of my year.
Yeah.
Virtually every time we went, win or lose, the sense of community, the energy in the arena when this was amazing. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So that now that the league has come to the thing, we're saying, hey, if you do that, you're a loser.
Yeah.
It's the treadmill of mediocrity. If you're just aiming for a first round exit every year, which is what we were, which was what those treasured memories were.
Yeah.
You know, they couch it as foolishness for our team to have done that, right? We wasted Dame's career with these first round exits when we should have tanked and bottomed out once we went to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, that's the joy. That's the joy.
That 4 overtime game, right, that we went to was that was one of the highlights of my time as a Blazer fan. And we ended up, losing in the next round.
Yeah, but it was yeah, and you can focus. This is like I always talk about with, like, cats. Like, we get a cat. Every time you buy yourself a cat, you're signing yourself up for a cat funeral. And you can be focused on the fact that you're going to get a cat funeral. We're going to lose in the Western Conference Finals. Or you can just love the heck out of that cat while it's in your life. So a lot of it depends on what you're going to focus on. If you want to focus on the funeral, well, you're not going to like that cat very much, because, like, you're going to bring me a bad time. Maybe too soon. But
I lost a cat recently.
But if you focus on the cat, if you focus on the love and the life that you have with that, in other words, if you're thinking about all those exits, you're not going to be happy. But if you're thinking about the big wins, whether it's a regular season or a postseason, or the weird moments that you've enjoyed, then I think that's why you're a Blazer fan. It's because, like, they don't show, dejectedly walking off the court in their advertising. They show the biggest shots. They show the most energetic and athletic things, the reasons that you go. And
exciting young players who give us hope.
That's right. That's right. Exactly right. So I guess a lot of it has to do with, where do you want your focus to be? And being results focused is, a lot of people are. Sure, absolutely. But if you're looking for joy, you can find it there. If you're looking for results, we're not going to find it. Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with what you're looking for, in my opinion.
I think that's a mature perspective. Yeah. I appreciate that. I'm very reactionary.
That's why I'm older.
Not saying makes a lot of difference now.